It is the 5-Star Podcast of Wrestling. I'm Shawn Myers. This is Justin Lowery. Got to work on the hand gestures. We'll get that sorted out. Nonetheless, Raw recap time, Justin, and I can speak from experience. I was in Columbus on the campus of Ohio State University for the show, so I maybe have a different perspective. But right off the bat, I know you weren't a big fan of this show. I conversely saw it as a lot of progression in terms of big-time storylines.
Yeah, I honestly, I think Raw sucks right now. I don't have the same opinion of SmackDown, but Raw does not interest me whatsoever right now. There's very few things on Raw that grab my attention. And that 3-hour show, I could probably watch a half an hour of it and feel satisfied, where the other 2.5 right now, I just don't care.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the bigger segments from Raw, and I think there's a lot of stuff to go over, and not all of that is necessarily great content, great programming, but it certainly was newsworthy, in my opinion. The first thing we're going to start with is what turned out to be the main event, and it wasn't the main event at the beginning of the night. It was slated to be Finn Balor and Baron Corbin. They announced that as the main event, and my immediate reaction is, not again. No one wants to see that match, let alone in the main event. They swerved us a little bit because they ended up making it Finn Balor against Braun Strowman. As Corbin said, I'm too busy, but you, Finn, will still be in the main event. You'll go against Braun Strowman. Now, we've seen this match before. However, when we saw it a couple months ago, it was a face versus face match, and I thought, at least the first time, it was very well done. This time around, it was adequate. Certainly much better than the alternative of Corbin being against Finn again. But Braun Strowman now working as a heel, and it seems like, at least for the short term, there's really no turning back. What do you think of this main event in which Finn sort of seems like a pawn again to something bigger? Probably a disservice to him, but ultimately the biggest takeaway was getting Braun over as this monster that he's always been, but now a mean monster.
Yeah, okay, here's the thing. One, personally, I like Finn as a wrestler. And
I think most people do, other than probably a few higher-ups.
Seeing him just go out there to take the beating, there's somebody I think there's more out there for him to do, and definitely for merch sales and stuff. And the fact that I know he's never going to be a main player there, it's just, on a personal level, disappointing for me.
It seemed like they could have salvaged him just 3 weeks ago or so with SummerSlam and then wrestling Roman the next night in a very competitive match, and then they squander it the very next week.
Right. And Braun, we touch upon this in trending topics a little bit. He's kind of like whatever for me right now. I really got into him when he was hot, back 4 or 5 months ago when I thought they should have gave him the title. And they clearly passed on him for obvious reasons because Roman needed to be the guy in their opinion. And now, he won Money in the Bank. Everybody assumed he was eventually going to be a world champion. Well, now I think we all kind of agree that he's not going to win, at Hell in a Cell.
You and I agree. I think a lot of people that I've seen out there are thinking he's going to win because they want Roman to chase the title again. But I don't think it's time for Roman to lose it already.
A lot of people agreeing that he won't, and I think turning him heel and him not cashing in makes it easier than a face with the Money in the Bank trying to cash in and not. And this is why none of this makes sense to me. He's a heel now, but he's still telling Roman when he's going to cash it in. Well, that's not very heel-like. And it's just, and then if he doesn't win it again, then really, what's the point of Braun? They totally ruined Braun.
He's with this pairing now with Drew and Dolph.
What's that about?
It doesn't seem to fit, does it?
It doesn't seem to fit whatsoever. And remember, when he was a face, he didn't need anybody. Maybe Nicholas. Everyone's just going to get these hands. And they did all these skits of him turning over, trucks and stages and this and that. How he was so strong, he didn't need anybody. Now, all of a sudden, because it's the Shield and Roman, well, I'm just going to team up with Dolph and Drew. Like, what? Why? Huh? What? Like, it makes zero sense to me. Maybe if he would have got Bray and Luke Harper, because Rowan's hurt, that would at least been like, okay, well, he was a white family.
Right, there's storyline there.
Right, and Bray could use the rub from Braun, but it makes no sense to me. Just 4 weeks ago, Braun's doing, comedy skits and showing you how strong he is, and now he's a heel and this and that, and I'm like, whatever.
Are you believing that the fans at least are treating him as a heel though? Because I was there, and while he got a good reaction at the very beginning, he started ripping into the fans. By the time the main event's around, he's getting boos or very little face reaction at least. So it seems like in that sense it's working more than a lot of their heel or face turns do.
It does, which whatever. Honestly, I don't care either way. I do think I wish it wouldn't work just for the sake of Vince and everybody's has to be Roman, because I think Braun's kind of ruined. I thought he was hot 6 months ago. At least give him the title and see what happens.
WrestleMania was a blown opportunity. He should have done something big there.
Give him the ball, because Vince always says, take the brass ring. Here's somebody who got over, and it's Vince's size, what he likes, and instead of, okay, let's see what happens, let's run with it and see what happens, they're like, no, the plan has to be Roman. Well, I just don't care. If you're that stubborn to stick with the current plan and not listen to the fans and the reaction, then whatever. Then why should I care when I know how this is going to end?
So let's build upon that a little bit. At the start of the show, Braun was in the ring with his new buddies. The Shield comes out. For some reason, the Shield gets arrested. I don't know why. They got arrested. They got taken off. And you know what's going to happen at the end. They're going to come back, and it's, totally Stone Cold Steve Austin, like with the paddy wagon or whatever you called it, Justin. So the Shield come out at the end to try to help out Finn Balor. Well, it looked like it would be a fair fight until the entire heel portion of the locker room comes out and beats down the Shield. It probably turned out to be, about 20-on-3, 25-on-3 when it was all said and done. And there's some unique visuals here, is like the Authors of Pain and Drew Gulak were teaming up on Roman Reigns, and Elias came out and he partially threw Seth Rollins through an ambulance window or whatever. There's a lot going on. Logically, I'm trying to think of why all these other people would come and beat up on the Shield and what this ultimately proves. It seems like it's nothing more than WWE saying, we're going to get the Shield over more as faces by having all the heels attack them. Yeah, they already were faces. This makes people like you and I almost turn on the Shield a little bit, doesn't it?
Right. They're so hard. They're trying everything in their power to make sure you cheer Roman. That's why I think there's the Shield right now, because they want Roman to be cheered, because he gets cheered when he's in the Shield. When he's just Roman, there's more boos. They're doing everything in their power. And I never understand this stuff. Okay, all the heels come out to attack. But what are all the faces doing? If they're faces, aren't they going to come out and protect their, what? Do they just sit back and go, oh, man, that sucks for them? Like, that logical makes no sense. Here's another thing. Kevin Owens is out there, right, doing the heel beatdown. Braun just threw him off a steel cage, last month, a couple weeks ago, and now he's out there to help Braun?
Agreed.
Does that logically make any sense?
No, and that's stuff that this company should be better at thinking ahead of things like that. I am all for more reality-based storylines where, if two guys don't like each other, even if they're faces or even if they're heels, they shouldn't like each other, and they should play on that. Maybe it doesn't lead to a match, but yeah, that's a cool little thing if Owens and Strowman are sort of like opposite one another. Maybe Owens comes out, wants to take a shot at Seth Rollins or something like that. But yeah, I agree. That's little things that they should be doing better for a company that's been around for such a long time.
Yeah.
There was more action involving members of, I guess, the trio of Braun, Dolph, and Drew. And this one I could see coming as soon as they made the match. It was supposed to be the B team against the Revival. The Revival gets taken out by Drew and Dolph. They get it started into a tag team match, and all of a sudden, we have new tag team champions. In a sense, I'm okay with it because the B team really did not deserve to be champions. And as I watched this match back today, man, Bo Dallas is not a very good wrestler. Axel is okay. Dallas just looks bad at times, so really these guys shouldn't have been champs. I understand that they had a nice little run. The fans were behind them. They played off of some comedy skits that really worked. However, Drew and Dolph being champions seems nothing more than trying to build up this three-man heel faction that goes against the Shield. It seems like they literally said, oh, we need to get them even more formidable of a trio, so let's give them the tag team titles as well and screw every other tag team that's in contention, especially the Revival.
Well, yeah, because now all the belts are in that feud. That's because as soon as that was made, well, as soon as they did that backstage thing, oh, how do we get in there? And Corbin's like, well, if the Revival are taken out, well, okay, well boom, okay, they're going to take them out next segment. They're going to be tag team champions later tonight. I mean, it was easily seen coming from a mile away. So they want, I guess, both factions to have titles. So you have someone holding the Money in the Bank, the tag titles in the feud, then the other side, the IC and the Universal Championship. Poor, Dean Ambrose. He's the only one without anything. Again, it's like you're sacrificing the entire roster for like this one main Roman storyline, and I think that's why people get so angry. And once again, it shows how the tag division is a joke. The B team was a joke as a champion, and now we'll just throw this team who hasn't really even been a team, really.
I think there was some excitement for the Revival to potentially get the championships and try to get a run, right?
Yeah, poor them. I mean, I thought they were great in NXT.
Well, Dash Wilder was okay after Raw. I know that's a good sign, as he was able to recover from that beatdown.
Yes, well, and that too, speaking of the beatdown, I thought it was pretty weak. I know me and you discussed, I said when it comes to backstage beatdowns, it was pretty tame. And Drew just kept throwing around that pipe. I mean, he threw the pipe around more than he did any of, the wrestlers. There's
a joke to be made about that with Terrence Harrell, I think, right?
Lay that pipe, Drew. But for me, that's why I just can't take Raw serious. It's like, it's all focused on Roman and what they want to do with Roman, and Rollins and Ambrose, and Ziggler and Drew and Strowman all around Roman's world, and it's like, okay, we get it. Let these guys do other things then. I think Rollins and Ambrose and everybody else deserves more than just circling around Roman's orbit.
I agree. Let's break off the Shield and Drew, Dolph, and Braun talk for a little while. We'll move on to something else. And yes, it felt like it was the 90s again, but at least being there in person, it created an awesome moment for me as Shawn Michaels came out. Now, the reason why Shawn Michaels is out is it's pretty sad, to be honest. I mean, they are promoting a match that's not even the next pay-per-view. It is two in the future. It's in October. It's after HIAC, and it's basically, if it's close to the Saudi Arabia show, it's going to be a glorified house show. But for some reason, they're all about promoting Triple H, The Undertaker. Well, how do you do that? You bring Shawn Michaels out to give his thoughts. So yes, it's cool to see Shawn Michaels, and I think he's a guy more than most that still sounds pretty good on the mic. A lot of those guys, after they retire, they lose that as well. Mick Foley's an example, and he's going to be on next week, but I thought he was pretty bad in his recent on-air roles. But Shawn Michaels comes out, and I think he has a nice little promo that makes some sense. Out of nowhere, you hear the gong, and The Undertaker comes out. And, Justin, I don't know if you saw this coming or not, because I know you sent a text mentioning it. I had no idea. I did not look at anything earlier in the day. So I was completely stunned when The Undertaker came out, just because it's a Raw in Columbus without any real major pay-per-views looming. So I did not expect it. It created a pretty cool exchange, and I actually thought both those guys had some really interesting comments. My question is, does it mean anything? Is Shawn Michaels actually going to get back in the ring? Because when they started talking about that, I was thinking, well, maybe this will lead to something down the road, but to me, it's probably just an attempt to increase Raw's ratings and maybe generate some interest for this Australia show.
I can't. I'm sorry. Many times on here before I said, leave The Undertaker alone. I do not. Please. He's old. Michaels is old.
Are you going to tell me you're not intrigued by Shawn Michaels potentially wrestling one more match?
I swear to you, I'm not. Because honestly, I'm blessed by him. At least The Undertaker, I know. I've seen him. He can't go anymore. Let Michael's last match be his last match.
I'm fine with that. But is there part of you that wants to see him and Daniel Bryan?
You're not gonna get that. You're gonna bring him out so he can face The Undertaker.
Well, that's my concern, because that would be bad.
See that. And honestly,
how about him and AJ Styles?
I don't. Can Michaels really go like that anymore?
That's the question. That's why people would tune in.
I would give it one chance, but I'm perfectly okay of not seeing it. That's like saying, I want to see Ric Flair in his from 1988 face AJ Styles today. It just can't happen. It's just dream that can't happen. I don't like. Again,
that's fair. I totally get that, and to me, them teasing that is interesting. But what you said, if they ultimately do something with him and the Undertaker, man, that's something I don't want to see because those are two guys that.
And this leads back to my thing where there's so much talent not being used. Here you're giving a segment to two guys, one who's technically retired, even if he comes up, he's retired, and a guy that wrestles 2 or 3 times a year to promote different shows like in Australia and this and that. Honestly, who wants to see The Undertaker anymore? And people on Twitter like blow up, oh, Taker, yes, HBK, this is awesome. I'm sorry, I'm not into it. This isn't 1999. I don't want to see guys who are 50 try to pull off something that they can't do anymore. I want to remember what they were. I don't need to see it now. Give me somebody 20 years younger on the roster. Let me see Finn and AJ do something. I don't care who. There's more. There's people that deserve it more. It's their time. Give me them. Then give me the guys that are way past their prime. Well,
I think if you have a guy way past his prime, you can use him with an up-and-coming guy, and it works a little bit better. Putting two guys that are, you know what I mean?
Do the job, they give them the rub, yes.
Yes. But this match that they're promoting, it feels just like the Cena and Triple H match, which ironically had no build for the Saudi Arabia show. It just feels like, they're going to go and do a basic match, but nothing. Does it matter who wins? What?
No. Was anyone really going, man, we really need to see Triple H and Taker again?
One last time, Justin.
Now, if there'd be one match, I would be like, oh shit, I'm seeing this again. Austin Rock. That to me would be something worth saying, hey, we're going to promote one last time. Austin's coming out of retirement just to face The Rock. Okay, they headlined 3 WrestleManias, the 2 biggest stars. I get that one. Triple H to me is just feeding his ego. Triple H is a great Hall of Fame wrestler. I'm not putting it, but in his mind, I think he's bigger. He feels like he's bigger, more important to the business than what he actually is. To me, he's not an all-time legend. He's just not. It took Rock and Austin leaving for him to, get out there and also being with the boss's daughter.
You might not think that Triple H is an all-time legend, Justin, but you know who is an all-time legend? Brie Bella. Her performance on Raw and her follow-up performance on SmackDown. We'll stick to the Raw portion for now, but she should never be wrestling in a ring, right? I mean, there's after what she did. Now, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. The first dive to the outside, I truly don't think was entirely her fault. I think Sarah Logan was late to drill her, because if you know the spot is I'm going to get hit jumping the outside, you kind of have to pull up and get hit. But the second one, she almost killed herself and everyone else. Why do you even do that spot? And then the next night, it looked great, but it probably nearly broke the jaw and face of Zelina Vega with the running knee. She seems reckless right now, and she never was good to start with. She's making Daniel Bryan seem less popular. And while I think Nikki Bella is actually still very competent in the ring, the Bellas being back in action and winning a match against an up-and-coming team, there was a lot not to like about that storyline.
I hate the Bellas. And out of all the people on the roster, Brie Bella is the one pulling double duty on both shows. Fascinating. Is she? I think she might be the worst female on the roster, and that includes Jax and Dana Brooke. She is she's I don't know how they can honestly let her in a match and feel good about it. She is horrible, just horrible.
Like I said, not only is she bad, but at this point it seems like she's a liability to the other women in the match.
She's gonna hurt herself or somebody else.
You agree that Nikki can still seemingly work a pretty good match?
I hate the Bellas, period. I hate Nikki, but Nikki is at least average to above average in the ring. She's not the greatest, but she's not going to hurt herself or anybody else.
Do you know what I think would be a fitting feud? The Bellas against the Iconics. That's about the line for where the Bellas should be at. Not challenging for Ronda Rousey's title and not involved in Daniel Bryan's marquee storyline.
To me, that's already ruined, which we could talk about that on the SmackDown side, but already ruined that feud. So I don't want to get too much into that. But Brie on Raw, they're just annoying. They're Kardashian wannabe.
Were they sort of teasing a little bit of a heel turn when they were talking to Rhonda and about Natty in the back? Did you see that?
Well, I think it's this.
Because I think a lot of fans, yes, you have your women's fans that like them, but I think a lot of guys hate the Bellas now, and they hate that they're getting these opportunities.
Well, right, and everything that I feel like the women's division is very strong, and there's been a lot of great things going on with it the last couple of years, and it has nothing to do with the Bellas. And the Bellas, if you watch Total Divas or their show, they act like they're the ones who started the revolution. I'm sorry, they didn't. They were part of the problem. They're not gifted enough. You know, I don't. They might love wrestling now, but they didn't love wrestling. They got the job because they were two pretty women who, you know, give Nikki credit. She became decent, you know, as an in-ring competitor. But every time I look at her,
she never should have been the longest reigning champion ever. I mean, that was.
We all know why she got that. They wanted AJ Lee's record to be.
But that's not the woman that, you know, should be breaking.
She didn't deserve it. I mean, there's many other women, Beth Phoenix, AJ, during that era that deserved it way more than Nikki. And it's just, I get because maybe they have reality TV show, Vince sees them as stars. But like, I look at their numbers. They pull in like 500,000 people. It's not like, you know, these Reigns Glory people love them. And I think if they keep coming back to wrestling, that tells me that what they want to do outside of wrestling still isn't taken off. I mean, people forget, what was it, 5, 6, 7 years ago, they left the WWE for a while to become actors. And that didn't go over either, so they came back. It's just, they want to use the WWE almost like, you know, Eva Marie wanted to use it to jump, you know, into something else in Hollywood or in the entertainment industry. And they come off as horrible people. They're obnoxious. They're not even good. If you want to use them as a heel, I can at least buy that because they're easy to hate. But it just, yeah. Oh, God.
They're bad at, I think, honestly, bad at promos, too. Anyway, yeah. So we talked about Shawn Michaels and him staying true to his retirement. 7 days is how long Kevin Owens stayed true to quitting WWE. He did thankfully, he interrupted the Bobby Lashley Jinder Mahal segment, so he's back. He's in a feud with Bobby Lashley. We don't need to spend too much time on this, Justin, but why? Why say I quit? Why have him back the next week? What does this do for Kevin Owens? When he said I quit, I think there was a little bit of anticipation. Maybe he'll get something big out of this. It seems like they just changed their mind, and we'll maybe get an explanation, but maybe not. It was pointless.
It was stupid. And when he actually did I quit, I thought, okay, I think this is going to be good for Owens. He's been kind of floundering the last couple months. Okay, keep him off TV for a couple weeks, maybe a month after Hell in a Cell. Maybe bring him back in October, you know.
And bring him back in an impactful way, right?
Right, like with a meaningful reason, like a storyline. Like, hey, we're going to take you off for a month. This is the storyline we're giving you. Boom, here we go. Okay, this is good. And there was rumors about him coming back with Paul Heyman, which I don't think he needs Paul Heyman.
Right.
But you want to give him a little spark. I'm sure those two could have been magic together. But to have him, and then to interrupt that, so Bobby Lashley, and what's going to happen? He's going to end up being fed to Bobby Lashley. I could see that probably being what happened. And Lashley's a joke. Talk about somebody who's been made to be a joke. You can't take that guy serious at all.
He was doing good with the Shantae or whatever, right?
Oh, yeah, jeez.
Tell me what you said when I texted you saying that Lashley and Jinder are going to be in a segment with in-ring meditation.
I can't even remember. What did I say?
You said I'm going to bed and I'm not joking.
Oh, that's okay. That's right. I did. Honestly, everybody. Yeah, he texted me that. I said, I turned it off. I'm going to bed. And you were like, what about the main event? I don't care. You put this on. It's 10:30. I get up early. I'm not staying up. I don't care. Anything with Jinder, I ain't going to care. Anything with Bobby Lashley, I don't care. You put those two together, I don't care. And then you text me, KO's back. And I saw it on Twitter. And I went, that's even worse. Again, why? I think, again, Kevin Owens is somebody that I think deserves better than that. And why? Like, what's the purpose? It's like there's no reasoning. You say you quit, and then it makes Kevin Owens look like an idiot. You know, like I talked about. Why?
It's the same reason that Drake Maverick's now with the Authors of Pain. They picked something that afternoon.
Well, why wouldn't they just kept Paul Ellering with them the whole time? Like, again, none of this makes sense. It's just like, hey, I got an idea. And someone's like, what's your idea? Let's try this. Okay. Like, there's no actual thought process that goes into anything.
You know what would have made sense with Drake Maverick? Have him be there like a month ago, guest of, Kurt Angle. And have him be like, oh yeah, I'm 205 general manager, get a little exposure for the show. He could talk up his guys, but then say, oh, while I'm here, I might be scouting out some talent, see if anyone catches my eye. Have him kind of lurking around the next couple weeks. Oh, I came back to check out, and then at least you have a build. Instead, he just comes out wearing the vest, and it says Maverick.
Looking like a complete idiot. Like, it's just like, and like Corey Graves, I guess you watched, Raw back. Like, he had to explain who it was and everything. Like, if you got to explain something, that means it's stupid right from the get-go. Like, it was. I mean, it was
take 4 weeks. Take 4 weeks, 30 seconds a week, showing him there and explaining he's there looking for someone to catch his eye.
And how many people actually know him? Like, honestly, unless you watch 205 Live, you have no idea who that guy is. And people are like, who the hell is that really small guy? Like, who's that guy? That guy looks like a dork.
He looked ridiculous wearing the vest as well.
Yeah, it's just stupid. Not as stupid as Angle looked wearing the Shield attire, but pretty damn close.
All right, so Raw, there was a lot that happened. You won't argue that. Your argument is a lot of it that happened was just bad.
Yeah, my personal opinion is nothing's really interesting me. Honestly, I can sit here and I'm going to try to think of one positive thing I can say about Raw that I liked, and I'm trying, honestly, really hard.
Alexa Bliss and Elias.
Well, here's the thing with that is, I thought Elias is typical Elias self, owning the crowd, and the crowd has to know he's going to turn on him. But they're all with him in the beginning.
By the way, little spoiler here, he was not allowed to mention Urban Meyer. He wanted to, and that would have created a ridiculous reaction there. But
and I wish they would have let him because, like you said, it would have been pretty epic.
So he had to go with the whole Michigan thing, and kind of a more.
It still works, but not to that level. And then Bliss coming out doing the Ohio thing again. We all knew she was gonna, and.
But she's really good at that too. She's great at the fake out.
I love those two performers, but I did feel like their exchange was a bit awkward. Like there was a couple pauses in between, and I don't know if anything was planned out or they were waiting for a cue or something. Did you notice that?
So I went back and watched it. I didn't really see anything. I think a couple times he sort of just agreed with what she said, which probably wasn't part of it. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're right," or something like that.
I don't know. It felt like I don't know. I just felt a little awkward. But I always enjoy Elias. I always enjoy Bliss, and I enjoy Ronda Rousey for the most part. I do hate her always coming out waving and smiling. Like she's the happiest wrestler.
And then not knowing how to sell anything.
Oh, that was a pretty poor sell job. But I want to give credit to Foxy. Because man, does she bump like crazy for Ronda? Like she's
gonna get hurt. I mean, honestly, she's gonna get hurt.
I give her again, we talked about on trending topics, giving up your body. She's being whipped around there, and it looks awesome. It looks dangerous, vicious, and awesome. So credit to her.
So Alicia Fox stealing the show on Raw once again.
That's my number one call on Raw.
That's gonna do it for the Raw recap. A lot that we went over overall. Probably not the best Raw. One that I was at, so it'll be memorable for me. But nonetheless, we'll see how Raw maybe changes course or hopefully improves over the upcoming weeks. But for Justin Lowery, Shawn Michael signing off here on the Raw Recap. We got one more of the SmackDown summary. That's upcoming next here on the 5 Star Podcast of Wrestling.